up? How you doing? It's Jared. It's another one. Flashlight, right? It's an Olight. It's a pretty badass little flashlight right here. Solid raw copper. They offered me to do a review on this thing. It's a limited edition they're coming out with, doing a promotion for this i3t. It's the Olight i3t EOS. This is the raw copper edition here. I really like this light. It's giving me an idea on a couple things. And I mean, this is like a collector's edition flashlight. You know what I mean? It's got all the neat little accoutrement. Because again, you know, I've said a lot in the past, and I really feel that it's the small things that matter. It's the little details that really set something off. The fact that they've given this kind of gold PVD pocket clip on, you know, because it's still a steel pocket clip, but they've coated it, you know what I mean? They've given it this little bit of a shine, and they changed up the button. It's plastic, you know what I mean? And it's this hard, rigid button, but it's still... it's brown, right? It's not obviously not copper, but they've changed it up. It's not black, you know? And so it gives just that overall nice effect, you know what I mean? It makes this thing seem just really a lot nicer than it is, because it's really just a EO, or what is it, an i3t, you know what I mean? This is like a $30 flashlight if you get the aluminum version or steel version, whatever the original is made out of, but this thing is just... it's badass. I mean, it's got that ooh and that awe factor to it. It is definitely raw copper. They're not lying, because I dropped it on the floor. You can see this big old dent that came out of it. And it did turn the flashlight on. It turned it on when it hit the ground. But, I mean, it took a pretty serious ding out of it. So this is a relatively soft material. So it's not going to held up very well, especially for everyday carry. I mean, carrying this thing around, using it all of the time. And you can see what I've done here, right? This side here, because I have been actually playing with this thing for the last couple days. I've carried it around with me a few times. You know, I have been messing with it. And this is polished. This is relatively what it's going to looks like out of the box. I polished it up a little bit, and you can see that direct line right there to this side. And this is like legitimately 4 days worth of carry. 4 days worth of my fingerprints getting stuck onto this thing. So it's going to tarnish. It's going to just change color, because it is. It's raw copper. It's going to oxidize, especially all the oils and the goop and the gunk in your hands, everything that you're going to be messing with, because you're generally doing something when you need a flashlight, you know what I mean? So it's got all of this... it's gonna get crapped up, and with that, it's gonna change, you know. And I kind of like that, because it harkens back to the review I did on this. It wasn't really a review, but this is a Chris Roof Sebenza, right? And in the video for this knife, I mentioned that this is a knife for somebody who wants to form an emotional bond with their knife. Somebody who truly likes carrying their gear, right? Somebody who likes to see those changes and those things getting beat up. This is a Chris Roof Sebenza, and this actually works better for that for me, because I don't carry the Sebenza too much. But you see all of these scratches and these little dings and that big patch right there that's missing from it, and then all the scratches on the pocket clip, and I've actually got some scratches on the blade here, and I love that. It actually encourages me to carry this knife more than a lot of other knives, because I like seeing the development of that. I like seeing it change over time, and me carrying it, attributing to the way that it actually looks. I love that. And this is going to be very easy for that, because you don't actually have to beat this up. You don't have to scratch it. You don't have to drop this thing on the concrete to give it its little bit of personality. It's all just going to come from a natural chemistry process of this thing oxidizing, which I think is... that's really cool if you are going to carry it. But I really, you know, I watched a video on this thing. I'll get into all the modes and that in a minute. And they mentioned that this is a good gift item. And honestly, I had that thought before I watched that video, and I agree with that, especially with the presentation, because presentation comes really heavily into gifts. I think releasing this thing right before the holiday season was an excellent idea, because you open the box up, it comes pre-wrapped in this little package here, and it's vacuum sealed so that it does come all shiny and new looking. And then you've got your little notebook that has a manual, comes in there, and it says thank you there. It says thank you at the back of this thing, wherever it's at. I don't know. It says thank you. There it is again. It says thank you like 5 times in this packaging, and it's really nice. It presents the flashlight, and you know, it's a very tight fit. It's not cheap cardboard, and so I like packaging. You know, I'm a big fan of that, and they definitely nailed it with that. And so it gives the prestige aspect. It gives that little bit of niceness to the overall flashlight itself. So, and I mean, this is a freaking flashlight, you know. it's just a piece of kit. It's a piece of gear. That's awesome. You know what I mean? The evolution of that, the evolution of the gear industry is shown in this little light right here. The fact that a flashlight company is coming out with a special edition, they've given it a serial number and they've dated it. 2018 1545. It's got a designation number there. I don't actually know what that little symbol means there. It's got Olight stamped on it. You know, so this is legitimately aiming towards almost like a collector's special edition market, and it's a flashlight. The gear industry is expanding, and this is just proof of that. I really like it. I think it's a cool thing. I don't know is that I'm going to carry this thing around all of the time because honestly, it's copper. It's made out of solid copper. It's heavy as shit. This is not a light flashlight. I mean, it's not like, you know, it's a piece of lead, but I mean, for its size, for, you know, what you can get for just a couple ounces less, this is much more powerful. It's going to hold a charge longer. It's actually rechargeable. This is a SR1 baton I did a review on a while ago. They actually sent me this thing for review. If I can turn the damn thing off, quit messing around here. I really like this little light. It's a lot easier to carry around. It's a lot easier to throw in my pocket. It's not as obtrusive as something like this with just the amount of weight. So if you really are going to carry it, if it's something you're going to carry around, use in the EDC kit, the copper one, I wouldn't honestly recommend it for that unless you really are a metalhead. If you're into the copper, if you're really into things, seeing things change, if you like copper, you like something that's a little bit different, you know, then this is definitely cool on that aspect to carry, but it's heavy. It definitely weighs a lot, and it's not the most powerful thing out there. It goes from, what is it? I think it's 15 lumens on the low setting to 180 lumens. I don't want to shine that in the light on the high setting there, and it's just a double click. You just push it once to turn it on, and then a second click will actually turn it to the higher setting there. And so you can see it just alternates, and then you can click it on, it'll stay on, click it off, click it on, click it off. And so it's very simple, you know, it's not the most versatile thing out there. It's just a tool, you know. It's not trying to be all crazy, and on that, it actually takes a AAA battery, which is cool and isn't, because the rechargeable thing is definitely very nice. But with a rechargeable battery, you do have to recharge it. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of time, and if you need to immediately get more light, you know, if you just want to be able to switch out your battery and keep going, you don't have an extra battery, you don't have an extra CR123, I don't even know what kind of battery is in this thing, then having, you know, an extra AA sitting in your shelf, sitting in your desk, whatever it is, it's really nice, because then you can just flip it out and keep going. I mean, you don't have to worry about actually charging the light. So the replacement aspect is really nice, and kind of like, not like necessarily a shit hits the fan scenario, because this isn't the kind of flashlight you'd want for that, but you know what I mean, like when you just don't have it available. If you don't have a power cord available to charge your flashlight, you may be able to go to a gas station and buy a AAA battery, and then, you know, stick a new AAA battery into your flashlight. So there are serious positives to being able to just replace the battery, having a standard triple or AA battery, whatever it's going to be. There are some positives to that. I would personally prefer a rechargeable, and especially because you can just get rechargeable AAAs. And so if you really do want a rechargeable battery, you don't want to have to keep buying these AAA batteries. You just get a rechargeable AA, and that'll still work. You know what I mean? You have to take it out, and it's a little bit of a hassle, but I mean, it's still a rechargeable battery. And so I do like this setup. It definitely does have some beneficial merits to just having, you know, a replacement battery. You can just kind of throw it in there. I do like that, and it's just smooth. You can hear that. There's no oil, there's no grease on there, but having those copper threads, and that's one thing. This whole thing is copper. It's not just like the body is copper and then they did the inside with aluminum and everything. No, this entire thing, every piece of metal on this whole thing, you can see that. I don't know if you'll actually see it in there, but there's a little press ring to actually hold the mechanics up in the front of this, the actual light portion itself. There's a little pressed copper ring in there, and that's actually copper. I mean, they went all out with this. They didn't just put a little bit of copper on the outside of this thing. They didn't just braze it. It really is solid raw copper. And that, I mean, that's really cool. I definitely respect that. It's probably just a piece of copper wire. Like, this is just a big piece of copper wire that they machined out and then made a flashlight out of some copper wire, and so this is definitely readily available material, which makes, you know, that price point, you know, if this was made out of titanium, it's going to be a much more expensive flashlight, opposed not just in the machining of titanium is massively more expensive than something like copper, but I mean just the readiness of the material here, which is, you know, it's just cool. It's copper, like you know, you see this all the time. It's pennies, and I just really like it. Yeah. I'm going to take you outside, do some beam shots. Back in the backyard. That's a low setting. You can see I can click it on, click it off, and then that's the high. It's 180 lumen high. And so, I mean, it's a decent light. It throws it a decent ways, but it's not the most incredible. You can see that palm tree out there I called a pine tree in the last video. I can't actually see it. It doesn't throw it that far, but it lights up this tree decently well. And so for, you know, shorter distances, quick, easy lighting, I mean, you just need a little tiny bit of light, decent amount of light. I mean, I can see across the yard there, so it's a good amount of light, but again, it is a double A, and so that high setting is limited. You are limited to the amount of time that you're going to be able to run on this high setting. I think it's something like 21 minutes, but then it's like 16 hours on the low setting here, so it's definitely nice for what it is. Yeah, sorry, no giveaway on this one here. These are a limited edition. They did mark it. I mean, 1545. I don't actually know how many of these are going to be made. I'll do some research and put it down in the description if I can actually find out what it is. I promise you I'm not going to do too many of these flashlight reviews, but they offered me this thing, you know, and I like it. It's copper. And I put out a video a little while ago that mentioned I was a metalhead. How could I resist this thing? That's it. Olight. Y'all have a good one.